What's up, guys? We've got another awesome episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show. I promise eventually I will know what episode we're on, but for now, we're just going to say it's like episode 1 million or something. And we've got our awesome guests again from the Sanctum Squad. Say what's up, guys.
What's going on? Dan and Nate from the Sanctum Squad. Once again, thank you to Fabs for having us on this semi-regular, it's seeming, podcast.
Yeah, loving it, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. Shout out to everyone listening as well. It's been getting quite a lot of love from some of the local boys as well. So shout outs to the Birmingham and Dudley squad for that.
Yeah, definitely. So today we've got a couple of different things to chat about. So I think probably let's start off with kind of recent YCS and stuff results. So I feel like I hope I don't say I was hearing bare different ways to pronounce the name. I don't think I'm getting it wrong, but it's Joshua Schmidt.
Joshua Schmidt,
yeah. Topped with Runic Sprite, and it's seeming like in this kind of mini format we have, Runic Sprite is like the overwhelmingly best deck. Surprisingly, even better than Tears somehow. It just seems to be really dominating the top cuts of a lot of YCSs and stuff. So what do you think about that, guys?
I think, well, with regards to the Runic Sprite deck, this is something that me and Jake have been testing literally since Tactical Masters came out. Like, if you go on the Sanctum Squad YouTube page, don't quote me, but I'm fairly sure we were like the first TCG profile of it. So obviously, it's a deck that I've known about for a while, and a lot of the testing that I was doing was against like Tears and Vanilla Sprite. Don't say Vanilla Sprite, but like, you know, the more generic versions. And I think the thing about the Runic cards is, especially now that Toad's gone, it just gives Sprite decks so much more like viability in the toolbox of the quick play spells, and you're playing a deck full of instant fusions for level 2. Gigantic Sprite is just, it's stupidly easy to make, and I think the way that the deck's played now, it just draws and draws and draws and draws. So you're going to see your side deck cards, you're going to see your power cards, and like, even if you skip over the battle phase like once or twice, like, it doesn't matter because you're just amassing so much pressure and stopping so many of your opponent's plays, like with things like the in-archetype impermanence, the in-archetype offerings, even the card that what's it called, Slumber, the one that stops you from destroying a monster. But also the banishing, like banishing the opponent's key combo pieces, is peak. Sometimes you just get lucky off the mills, and it is just peak.
Yeah, the best thing to have with that deck as well is, something to bring up is that once the field spells are, you don't have to set them, which was definitely a way around some of the board breakers that most people would be playing for something like anti and such. It meant that you could still have interaction on your opponent's turn and then also gain back that hand value by just shuffling them back into the deck. And I think also, because Dan and Jake were on the deck for so long, they can definitely attest more for the list. But because of the fact that Sprite lost Ronin, it meant that they were forced into another style of playing, because without Springed, which before that YCS wasn't out to the public, you were having to be forced to play a more control-y style. And I think the Runic cards definitely lend more to that and give you an overall better advantage than just playing the deck as a pure variant.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think your point about it essentially forcing you to play different kinds of removal stuff is really pertinent, because literally, like, it's not enough. Before, it's not enough to just have like the Twisters and the Storms and stuff. Like, Lightning Storm is low-key crap now.
It's a myth, bro.
Yeah, little things like that. It's quite mad that it's actually managed to do that. I think it's definitely really interesting. It's a bit sad though, because when you want to play a go second deck, or not even a go second, when you want to play any deck and have a chance against the meta, it's like, if you're against Runic Sprite, there's just not many options. Like, it's, even if you're going first, if you can't like completely shut them down out of the game, you just lose in the grind, because they're going to draw 3 cards on their turn, then they're going to draw 3 on yours, then they're going to draw 3 on theirs, and they're just going to keep doing it. And it's just, and
they're going to be banishing your outs as well. Like, you'll be watching your deck just go. I don't even think it's something that's specific to the Sprite variant, because me and a couple of the other local boys, shout out to Tom, we were working on Runic Despia for like quite a while, which was like a similar sort of idea to the Sprite version, where, you know, you play your little engine and the Runic cards to supplement it. And I played against that at locals, and it's just so strong. Like, just the fact that they can keep on grinding the resources, and like you say, you can't even hit the back row really. You just have to try and shotgun the fountain. I genuinely think I genuinely think anti-spell is going to come back. Like we're going to we're going to start seeing it more.
Yeah, I mean, literally, that's so. Funny enough, when I was playing Mathmech, I started to play my anti-spell even in the main deck sometimes, and then now I'm on Pen Best deck, playing Secret Village in the main deck because that's the solution. Just okay, you can't
I heard about this.
That's genuinely the solution because I think with it running around, I think also the deck kind of gets a bit worse going into tier element format.
Yes,
So,
I agree. I think what's going to happen, because the thing is, right now, yes, like I said, we have like a really weird mini fake format right now where it's like it's only going to last 2 weeks, and once Ishizu tier comes out, it's going to do two things. Firstly, it's just the power level of tiers goes so far up because Ishizu tier can actually deck you out. I'm kind of similar to Shangri-La, but in a bit more fair way because it's graveyard as opposed to banish. And so
it's just the weird thing as well that you can play like Exchange of the Spirit.
Exactly.
One of the weird lists does play Exchange, and then they can just shuffle resources back in.
And then, that's the other thing that I think is good because obviously, if you try and trigger your field spell, they can put the cards back in for you, and then you don't get the draws, which is also very problematic. So definitely when that comes out, it's going to be good. Sorry, Dan, you carry on.
No, sorry, bro. That was the thing I was going to say as well. Like the Ishizu tiers list, it just eats the entire meta alive. Like the only thing you're going to see in terms of decks that aren't meta anyway are decks that can main deck Dimension Shifter, and just Abyss Dweller Turbo decks essentially. Shout out to Crystal Beast. The one thing that I did want to say about Runic Sprite before we move on is I really like the fact that Mannequin Cat's being used to get all these insane side deck cards like Chaos Hunter and that weird turtle. I think that's one of the most innovative techs like that came out from Utrecht for me. Like it's been so interesting seeing that. So shout out to whoever's idea that was to put that in a deck list because that's sick.
Like when I saw Joshua Schmidt talking about, he's like, I want a Flunder player to shift to me, and then I was like, why? And then he showed the combo how it's like they shift to him, and then he brings up Chaos Hunter instead. I was like, what the heck? Like that's actually insane. So I agree. It's definitely, and you know what? I do like the creativity of deck building that Sprite is affording. I feel like, look, I'll be honest. It sounds like I'm being a hater. I don't really respect tier deck building because I feel like you're gonna see every card in your deck in tier anyway because you just chuck them all straight for free. But with Sprite, I feel like there's an actual inherent heavy disadvantage with the deck in that you basically can't attack, and if something can't be targeted, you lose. And I do like that it's forcing people to do stuff. Even the fact that we're seeing wind-up kit and being used actually how it's probably meant to be used because the wind-ups are all meant to be looped like that. I do think it's actually quite cool. And so, I do like some of the really creative deck building we're seeing as well. I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
Definitely,
I think that's a really good... Oh, sorry. Chaos Hunter was always like a weird tech that was played in the OCG from like the very beginning because of the fact that once they knew that tier elements were coming into the format, they just decided to put it in the side deck. And then obviously when Toad got banned over there, the Sprite list then became more... I want to say we're more creative with the deck building, playing stuff like the Bestials, Fenriers...
It was played more as just almost a generic mid-range strategy, wasn't it? Almost like
I think that's the thing. Like OCG settles themselves for really good mid-range decks, and that's basically what Sprite became. And it felt like a deck that could do a lot, but then you were having to play so many non-engine cards to do what you actually wanted to do with them.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely going to be interesting. But then, kind of talking with the Ishizu cards, the Maven set. So that is coming out for us on the 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, 3rd of November.
Next week. That's
3rd of November, which is next...
It's 8 days.
Oh my gosh.
As of today, it's 8
worst
days.
Craig David song ever.
Oh, let me just check. 8 days. Oh, thank God. Okay, it's on the Monday as well. Or Thursday. Look, I can't read yet. It's on the Thursday, so that means I am going to have to suffer through those decks for next week locals. So just a quick update for those people who don't know what's in this set. Essentially, it's the main two things that are going to be in this set that are interesting is Ishizu cards, which essentially are what we're talking about that goes with tiers. It's some cards that mill a bunch of cards to the grave and do some interesting stuff with the grave. And then also some new Sky Striker support as well. And then alongside that, we've got Mayakashi support, Witchcrafter support. And finally, some Sword Soul reprints. And I'm really happy because there was one of my mates was selling his Sword Soul card, and I was like, I want to buy it. And then I found out it was in this, and I was like, I'm sorry.
You can get it for cheaper.
There's some great reprints in this set.
Very good reprints.
Skill Drain, Appaloosa, Toad, Millennium Eyes.
Lightning Storm.
Yeah, Lightning Storm, Evenly, Tactics.
I feel like we have to give a shout out to Konami, because I can't lie. Normally, Konami, they're bitches. Pardon my English with reprints, but in this sense, they really went in. Like I genuinely feel like this is probably one of the best reprint sets we've had in a long time.
I think this whole year, like, in terms of reprints, it's been on the money. I don't think there's a big power card that hasn't been reprinted this year that's came out, within reprint kind of time.
Baron, I think, is the next one that we're supposed to have.
Yeah, I was gonna say before the Megatins, I agree. After the Megatins, I agree. Before the Megatins, stuff like Prosperity and stuff, I feel like is really going for it. But I agree. After the Megatins, they hit a lot of those things. Then now pretty much everything.
I think it was quite interesting as well, because the fact that they printed Storms in the tins, and then they printed Storms in this set, and then they've also
I bought Tin Storms. I'm fuming.
And then also there was what was it? They're doing a really cool thing this time where they're actually reprinting all of the OCG alternative artworks in printings that aren't maximum gold, which I really like, because the Appaloosa print is so nice and deserved another printing in a different foiling, because gold is
gold's my favorite rarity. I can't co-sign. My Draco Slayer deck is like completely gold. I'm in love with gold rarities. I was a bit sad, but you know what? I am happy. I'm always happy when there's more reprints. To be honest, I think giving options.
I think it's also nice. Like as I was saying before, like all the alternative prints have been so nice and have been like really nice artwork, and then they get printed in gold, and it doesn't look as nice.
Do you know this for gold? I know we're talking about Mavens, but I'm just going off on a bit tangent on gold. The thing that bothers me the most about the new gold series, because I think the rares are absolutely great, and there's so many good reprints. The actual gold rares, the quality control is the worst bit for me.
I do agree. The quality control for the new maximum gold sets hasn't been amazing. I think, though, to be honest, I would say that it's not just limited to that, and I think it's been since COVID. I think Konami had an issue with their supply or whatever. I don't know what it was, but since COVID, I know they've either introduced new supplies or completely got rid of the old ones, and the quality control has been downhill since then. I definitely have noticed that, like, so many misprints or so many cards. You'll have packs that have like 50 secrets, and then packs that have 0 secrets and stuff like that. And like just in
like
general,
the collector's rare boxes and stuff.
Exactly. So I definitely agree that quality control in general is kind of going downhill, and Maximum Gold is one of those sets that I would say is
unfortunately the way the product is, you're going to be able to see error more.
Yeah, it's very, very noticeable when a gold card's like when the edging or bordering is really bad or something like that. And then also sometimes you just have cards that like damage straight out of the pack, and it's like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah, but back to Maidens. Is it Maidens or Mavens?
Maven. So it's Magnificent Mavens.
Okay.
Mavens.
Mavens. Yes, I'm.
Is it Maven?
Yeah, Magnificent Mavens is currently what it. Well, I'm looking at it on the Yugipedia, and it says Magnificent Mavens.
Imagine if that was just a spell check error.
It makes sense though, because I know Mavens is like, a Maven is like, I don't know. I feel like it is another
word for Googling it now. Like I'm just getting a load of computer jargon at the moment.
But the set is really interesting. Actually, what I do like as well is inside that set there is some Mayakashi support, and I know not everyone likes Mayakashi, but I think they have a really interesting gameplay loop, and it's going to be interesting to see how that deck does. Mayakashi also has a Link 4 that negates banished monsters, which I think is going to be really, really cool as well. So I am quite excited to play with some of those cards as well.
So, for those interested, a Maven is someone who is dazzlingly skilled in any field, synonyms such as Ace, Adept, and Virtuoso, and is not actually specific to females. It's an angelicized unisex form of the Irish girl's name Maidbin, which originally derived from a Gaelic name. So, that would explain why not all the cards in there are women, because you can't tell me that Millennium Eyes restrict is getting on a calendar anytime.
You don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very wrong of me to say something like that of me.
Very.
But yeah. Anyway, I think the Mayakashi stuff's really good.
Yeah.
Low key. That trap's wacky.
Mm-hmm.
I think like the best thing about Mavens was that it brings out all the new support for like other sets as well. Like the Mayakashi stuff has always been really, really good, but it's always been known as like an FTK and OTK strategy, like from back in Link format, I'd say. And then it just gives it another level of flavor, which means that you don't have to necessarily go down the path if you don't want to.
I mean, it's still functioning in FTK. It's Vanity's emptiness. So let's be honest. The Mayakashi card is an FTK basically. So I'll quickly read out for everyone. It goes: tribute 1 Mayakashi or Shiranui Synchro Link. Neither players can special summon monsters from the hand, deck, or extra deck for the rest of this turn.
Lovely.
Yeah, so it's pretty much an FTK, just FTK with extra steps, basically.
Yeah,
I'm calling it now. That deck will top a YCS or something, and it'll go through the roof. It'll 100%. Be like another Prank Kids, like how that was released.
It's all, the thing about, and funny enough, I was just saying this in a video I was making. Decks like this, the problem is people don't read cards, and people don't explore decks, and so someone will just allow a Mayakashi player to do all of this stuff, activate this card, and they'll be like, oh, sure, you can activate it, and then suddenly they can't play and they don't know why. So yeah,
it was the same with the Mathmech cards, because when the Mathmech cards first came out, it was like, oh, it's a funny OTK thing, and then they got circular, and that's just like full board, and no one knew what to do. I didn't know what to do even when we first saw it in tournaments, because I needed to actually read circular before I did anything, and I was like, what is this card? This just makes your archetype busted.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons why, especially pretty much any new deck that comes out, I make an effort to at least try and play it and stuff, because it's just I never want to be caught slipping. I never want to have the issue where it's like I just get rattled by a random deck. So it's like I like knowing every deck that's coming for me. But are there any decks that you guys are specifically looking forward to, other than obviously Ishizu stuff? Is there any cards in the new set that you guys specifically are looking forward to?
I'm just pulling up the card list now. There's some really nice reprints in here. I think I'm probably going to get like some of the weirder staples that people don't tend to think about, like, you know, Light Imprisoning Mirror, Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, the BLS Link. That's a really good reprint as well. I can't
believe it took them that long to reprint it though.
Yeah, 100%.
Actually,
Cyber Rep System as well. Like, as a Cyber Dragon player myself, that's a card that was far too expensive for what it was.
Yeah.
Anti-Spell Fragrance is funny. Obviously, Metal Reflect Slime's cool. Like, that's like low key one of my favorite cards, like of all time. So I'm excited to see that. Non-Fusion Area that needed a reprint. Why is there a Grinder Golem token in there?
So it's not Grinder Golem, it's G Golem. Or I don't know if it's related to Grinder Golem, but there's a new Cybers archetype called G Golems. And
I've just pulled it up. Ignore me. I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually linked to Grinder. It could be, you know. Let me quickly check.
Summoned by the effect of G Golem Rockhammer. If this card is in here.
It's actually a really good archetype. It's basically cyber spam. It lets you spam monsters really effectively and then locks you into cyber, as a lot of cyberses do.
Do we have this archetype?
No, it's coming out. So the thing is, if you look on the Yugipedia, you can see that some of the cards for the set have not been announced. And because we're getting a G Golem token, in my opinion, it would be incredibly troll for Konami not to fill those last slots up with the 7 or 6 G Golem cards.
I feel like we would have seen them in releases by now, though. Or I think it'll be in the Battles of Legend, because there is a Battles of Legend coming this year.
You think they'll release the token and then not release the archetype? I feel like that's so troll. Like, why would they do that?
Bro, it's Konami. Come on now.
This is a good point. I didn't think of that. Yeah.
But not too obviously, you know.
If it's not that, then we've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've still got 6 slots left that are together, which makes me think it's likely to be the new archetype. And then there's 2 slots together at the end, 1, 1, 1 and 1, 1, 2. So we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, that is weird.
Yeah.
Oh no, they could be the Pharaoh rares though.
That's a good point as well. Actually, it
does seem wild that no one pulled of the openings. No one's pulled any of these cards.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like Starlights at the beginning and stuff like that, right? It's supposed to be really high rarity, isn't it? So I guess it might be a case where there could be just 10 Pharaoh rares. To be fair, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would make sense. But it says they're all. I don't know. Yeah, again, it's one of those things. Like, reading new sets is also always so difficult. So we just got to see what ends up coming out. But again, this is definitely looking to be a good set. I don't think I'm going to be
100%.
buying any of the sealed products itself, just because I have pretty much, other than Sword Soul, I have all of the other reprints in here already. But
it's worth
definitely.
mentioning though on the subject of the sorry to cut you off on
Yeah,
the
go for it,
subject of the seal product. It does come with some nice collectibles like the sleeves with the Sky Striker or the Mayakashi or the other artworks, like the actual Konami sleeves on them. I think that'll be something to invest in because you can. If it's got Ray on it, like it'll be worth something at some point.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm interested to see is the quality of the sleeves, because I know like some Konami sleeves, like the WCQ sleeves, for example, are gorgeous. They look really, really good, really, really high quality. But then, for example, I've had other sleeves of Konami, like some of their, I don't know, is it the Joey sleeves or whatever and stuff like that, that just aren't necessarily as good quality. So it'll be interesting to see how good they are in this set itself. But it is nice because you do get a lot in the displays. I think you get like, what is it, like 70 sleeves or something like that? One pack of 70 card sleeves, yeah, so it's like a lot of designs.
That's quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, like again, I really have to give props to Konami. They are really stepping it up with products and stuff in general. Like, if I was going to buy sealed product, it would be between this and probably the Megatins in terms of quality, because I do think this is really, really good. Actually, no, it'll be this, the Megatins, and that Hand Trap set, whatever it's called, the set that comes with all the staples.
Oh, dude.
Yes.
Dual Devastator.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
On the subject of like spending money on the game budget, one of the topics that I wanted to bring up, how do you think it's the most effective way? Like, what advice would you give to someone who's coming into the game on a way how to effectively spend their money? If they say, for example, you get someone, I've got a budget of, I can probably afford to spend £100 a month on this game. Like, what advice do you think you would give them? Because it's something that you see in a lot of new players, and they want to buy cards that are cool to them, which is fine, but they also want to play competitively. So it's like,
Yeah. If it's a person who's new to the game, my first advice would be don't buy a deck.
Yeah,
I would say don't even spend money. I would say don't buy a deck. I'd say go play Master Duel, go play on Dueling Book, just play for free for a while. And if you really, really, really hardcore want to go to locals and you don't have any friends at all that can lend you a deck, then buy 3 Soul Burner or something and
like 3 Albaz Strike or something.
Yeah, dude. Actually, Albaz Strike is way better, you're right, than Soul Burner.
I would say Crystal Beast, if anything, because
that's not a bad shot, actually.
The only reason I wouldn't say Crystal Beast is because while it has a lot of staples in it, the deck itself is not. I wouldn't consider it competitive.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's more a case of like picking up staples.
Yeah. I guess
that's the most accessible way of picking them up.
Yeah, I guess actually in terms of the stables and stuff, but my main advice would be play on Master Duel, play on Dueling, but figure out how to actually play the game first. Figure out what you actually want first, and even then, it's like just borrow cards from your friends. The problem with Yu-Gi-Oh! I find nowadays is that to actually play competitively is so expensive that I can't, in good faith, recommend to anyone buying cards that I know it hasn't got a lot of money. Basically, I just feel like it's just. You'll buy a card and then the deck potentially is going to run out of the meta and not be worth playing in like 2 or 3 months, in like 4 or 5 months.
I agree.
And I just feel really Oh, sorry, mate.
It was the case of like, sorry. It was the case of like the biggest upset I think you have as well when you buy into a new deck is if you lose with that deck when you first go to locals, it'll put you off the game completely because the amount that you have to spend now to buy even a semi-competitive deck, you're spending at least a couple hundred on the deck?
400-500, especially if you include staples. Minimum.
Yeah, that's true. And then also if you go to locals and then everyone is playing around said deck or playing counters to it, and then you just end up like going X4, it's going to put you off completely because you feel disheartened that you spent all this money and you're not going anywhere. Most people respect the grind and carry on with it, but like that's enough to deter most people who haven't been in a competitive card game before.
Yeah, fully agree. And so just play Master Duel. Master Duel's free for a reason. Don't spend money on Master Duel, but play Master Duel. It gives you it gives you free coins. You should be able to get at least one meta deck just by playing Master Duel and doing all of the initial missions. And then from there, by then you'll know what you want to do.
Yeah, I think you'll know from playing Master Duel if you want to pursue it.
But yeah, that would be my honest advice. I know that's probably like the worst advice I could give if I wanted Konami to sponsor me. Like, that's like, remember when?
Well, no, because Master Duel is, it is an official Konami product, and it is the intention of getting players into the game.
We won't say the illegal one on stream at all.
The open secret.
We don't talk about that one. But definitely. But one thing I will say as well is that the Yu-Gi-Oh community is like, even though there are like there's assholes in every community, but in general, most people are quite nice, and it's like once you find your kind of like locals or whatever, there's gonna be some people there who will help point you in the right direction and take you under their wing and stuff like that, and then it just gets,
I think that's the best thing about having a locals with a friendly community. And as you've been saying, there's like a lot of toxicity in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. I think more or adequate to other card games. But there are people at locals, if you do find them, who give you cards to help, literally just give you cards just to help build your deck along and helping you with staples, trying to find you like everything you need. And I think that's a really lucky thing, because I had that when I first started, and I had people helping me with like building certain decks, getting certain important cards, and back then like getting staples was hard.
Sure.
Having people there to help you was such a big step in trying to, get through the gate almost into playing the actual game.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you are right. A lot of people I've met have been very accepting and welcoming to people who are new to the game, because everyone's got a mutual love for it at the end of the day, and you want to help build up the community. I've never seen anyone just be a complete and utter dick to a new player. And if anyone, like, if there is a new player and someone might be, trying to get them to do a little bit of a better trade in their favour, people see it, they do tend to crack down on it, and they're like, yo, come on now. Like,
yeah, definitely.
But in terms of, like, advice, I'd say, I think I'd say play digitally first. Start with a deck that you like. Don't just buy a meta deck for the sake of buying a meta deck unless you're like, okay, I want to get into this game to win. Because if you just... you've got to have the... what's the word I'm looking for? You've got to have that nostalgia factor, I think, to a degree. Which is what I think you speak to everyone. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, the first deck I played was Blue Eyes, was Heroes, was XYZ, anime archetype. Genuinely, I think if you want to buy one of those archetypes, fine. And then spend the money on getting things that are going to be transferable between decks, your hand traps, your staples, your whatever. And then by the time you're doing that, I think by the time you've got a competitive staple pool together, you probably have played the deck that you've picked for a decent amount of time, and you'll also have a decent experience of what other decks are around from being at like locals and things like that, so you'll have a better idea of what kind of deck you do want to go for.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things as well that you'll find, especially with videos, in fact, before I go into my point, I'm going to let you set the scene, Daniel, for a topic that you brought up before around gatekeeping. Do you want to set the scene, and then I'll go into my point afterwards?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So in terms of like gatekeeping in general, I've noticed that maybe not so much in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, but I was watching a video about a different game. And it seems as though almost to be taken seriously as a player in any sort of sphere that's competitive, really, it's almost like you have to have like the stripes to back it up. And when I say the stripes to back it up, I mean the people may not take you seriously unless you've got regional tops, YCS tops X, Y, and Z, or you have to be playing consistently like the best meta decks. And I personally think that's a load of rubbish. I think that anyone can be taken seriously because you don't know how much they love the game out and how much time and effort they put into researching the game outside of what you see at locals. I put like I don't know, like me for example, let's say I tend to one trick a deck because I like to be very I like to have as little decision making as possible in my life. I don't want to be going to locals thinking, what deck do I play? I want to be going to locals thinking, okay, I'll play this deck. And sometimes the deck of choice isn't always the most meta, but it doesn't mean that I don't know my stuff when it comes to how the game works technically and how meta interactions will go. And it's not something that I've found personally has happened to me, but it's definitely something that I've seen happen to other people. So I think that was just something that I kind of wanted to bring up and kind of get that discussion about. So I'll put the question to you guys. Do you think in order to be taken seriously as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, someone either has to have those tops or has to, show that they've got that experience by playing X amount of decks, well, I guess.
No.
Yeah,
In my honest opinion, you do not need the tops in order to be a good player.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who have consistently shown that they are exceptional players of the game who just get unlucky at events. Like that. Like there are people who show quite a knowledge in the game and in their theory, but again, because this game has a luck element to it, they just miss out on top cut by that. And there are other people who just are in love with the game and want to play it just from a non-competitive point of view, but are amazing players and their deck building is fantastic. And I still regard those people as being really good players. But I think it comes about with this toxicity of, in order to be a good player, you have to have so-and-so to prove you're a good player, when really it's just a reputation at the end of the day.
So I actually disagree with both of you here.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to let Nathan go first. And I'll give this as an analogy. If, for example, I went to university and I decided I want to study maths at university. Now, I go to university, I walk into the lecture hall, and then someone walks up in front, and it's a guy who I know. He's never passed a maths exam in his life. Or every maths exam he's taken, he's only got 40% in. But then he stands at the front and he goes, you know what, some of these tests, they were a bit hard, just a bit unfair, this, that, and this, that. But I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you degree level maths. And he hasn't even passed GCSE maths. I'm not going to turn around and go, you know what, you're right. Maybe he's just been unlucky. I'm going to go, what the heck are you doing? Go and get me a lecturer. And so, look, I think you should give respect to everyone no matter what they are or who or what they are. I don't think just because someone hasn't got tops, I wouldn't listen to them. That doesn't even make sense to me. But I feel like I don't want to discount the effort that it takes to get a top, because while and like, for example, that's why I don't agree with the notion that some people just don't top and they're just unlucky. No, I don't think that's the case. I think you top because you're good play, because it's actually, funnily enough, when I was at Euros, I was having a discussion with a mate of mine, and I was saying that one of the things that gives me confidence in that kind of pursuit of mastery, trying to get better at the game, is that I see the same people topping events after again and again and again. It can't be an accident. They can't be lucky that many times. And so that suggests,
I think that was a bit of like.
But I get the point you're trying to make. That's like sometimes it's bad luck and stuff. But to me, I see it as there is a difference in opinion. And so, for example, if I use my practical example and how I do things, when I'm asking for advice on a deck, there are two people I ask. I don't ask anyone else. Not because like everyone else's opinion is irrelevant and stuff, but it's just that those two people I know are undisputably very good players. I know they're very good players. They have significant tops. They top this, they top that. And so when I ask them, I'm not even asking as like an opinion. I'm asking them because I know that chances are their opinion is going to be right compared to mine and compared to most of the other people that I know. And so that's why, for example, like it's not. That's why I'm like it's when I define the question. So it's like if I try and define the question in terms of to be taken seriously as a player, it's not that I'm not taking someone else seriously, but I take a better player's opinion more seriously than I take a worse player. I would take Michael Jordan's opinion on basketball more seriously than I'll take someone else's opinion on it, because he's better at basketball, and I think that applies to Yu-Gi-Oh as well. I think it's just the rational thing. Yeah,
I think maybe there should have been a little bit more clarity in terms of what being taken seriously meant. So I'll clear that up a little bit. Obviously, if you want to get coaching, you're going to go to a player who's on the level of Jesse Cotton as opposed to a player like me. Like, I'm nowhere near that level, but, I wouldn't consider myself to be a bad player. Like, I wouldn't, suck myself off and say that I'm the best player at my locals, because I'm not. But in terms of taking seriously, what I mean is, you'll see, and I'm going to say this because everyone thinks it, and if you say you've never had this thought, you're a liar. You look at certain players in your locals or your regionals, and you think this round's going to be a bye.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And this isn't a negative thing. Like, I mean, it is negative in a way, but it's not something you think in a malicious way. At least I don't, anyway. But that doesn't mean that player's not a good player, because I've definitely had rounds where I've looked at a player and thought, okay, they're playing X deck, I'm playing Y deck. It's an easy matchup, or I know that they haven't been playing the game as long as me. I'm going to be able to outdo them on experience, and that is not always the case. And it doesn't necessarily, and I think that's maybe what I mean a little bit more. In terms of like advice, you could have a player who is great at locals, like consistently top fours, tops, what have you, they're locals, but they may not go to regionals or bigger events because of mitigating factors. Does that make them a worse player? Like,
Yeah,
I don't think
not
so.
necessarily.
To me,
And for example, the top guy on, well, I don't know if he's still at the top, but Zenzo Central, whatever, the top guy in DB, for example, he doesn't go to regionals. And so, for example,
really?
yeah, he doesn't. He just did a profile. I might have got his name. It's either Zenzo Central or the other one, but basically, he just did a profile on Hakuna My Data's channel, and he said he doesn't. He very rarely goes to regionals, and so it's like he's topped like one YCS, and everyone's like, "How did you top it? You never even play." But it's like, yeah, you don't necessarily have to have tops to be a good player. I do agree with that. Yeah,
that's what I mean. I don't think you should shut down someone's opinion. Say if you're building let's say for example Sprite, and someone says to you at locals, you're playing a match with them, you've beaten them, and they say to you, "Oh, why don't you play Iperia?" for example, and you think, "I'm not going to play Iperia. That's a stupid idea." And then you see, topping lists from Joshua Schmidt, and whoever else, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Iperia is busted," and you're like, "Oh, because X person said it." Like it means it's more valid than what.
Yeah.
And I don't say that in a sense of like you say, Simeon, like you're going to trust Michael Jordan's opinion more on what's good at basketball over the kid hooping across the road. But yeah, I don't think it means that you should just discount things that people say because they don't have tops.
Yeah, and I think that's just the maturity thing as well as you grow up, where it's like just because someone like there's like people have experience, but it doesn't mean, for example, that because someone has experience, it's like there's also what's practically happening right now. And so it's like in this match right now, this person might have a good idea or a good opinion that is correct. And it's like, I'm not just going to ignore them. And that's one of the reasons why it's like I make an effort actually to try and learn every deck and talk about every deck with everyone. In fact, just on Monday, I was talking to, I always forget his name, Jake. I think his name is Jake as well. Blackwings. I get his name
Jack.
right?
Oh, Jack.
Jack. Yes, I was talking to Jack. And he was giving me some amazing tips on my Blackwing deck. Because like I've been building the Blackwing deck with a new support. And for example, like, I don't know if he has any tops, but it's like to me that didn't even come into the relevance because I know for a fact that he probably knows that deck better than me. I've seen evidence that he's good with that deck and stuff. And so, for example, he gave me bare tips on the deck and it was awesome. But then it's also it's like I said, it's like there's a reason I do think people sometimes have the mentality of, well, I'm not going to listen until a pro player says it. And I guess it's just that kind of that legitimacy of, oh, that pro player has done this, so I can trust them. So I guess to me, it's like, you just have to be mature about it, right? And it's like, if what someone's saying makes sense, like, give them a chance, because maybe they are right.
Yeah. And I want to say, I think this is something that applies more to real life as opposed to on the internet, because anyone on the internet with a keyboard can say anything in it.
Yeah.
So I think it applies more to real life in saying, given that example you said, Fabs, about about Jack giving you tips on the Blackwing deck. I think that's a really fair way of looking at it, to be honest, because it is tricky because you don't want to shut someone down for the sake of shutting someone down, but you also don't want to take everyone's word as gospel.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Like that's one thing that I'm really firm on. That it's like there are so many different things that people can say, but it's like I don't necessarily agree with what everyone says, and so that's why to me it's like sometimes I don't take some people's opinions seriously, not because necessarily I don't respect them, but it's like I have someone I trust more. I trust their judgment more, and so I'm not going to take, even though you might be right, I'm still not going to take your opinion just because I do trust their judgment. And then that's when, I said, the maturity thing comes in of, okay, though, but it's like, are they actually right? Maybe you need to think about it and all of that. Yeah. And one thing I'd say as well is one thing I don't like, and I really hate, because it happens in UK, and it used to happen in League as well, is I don't like the mentality of kind of downing on people for not having tops and stuff, and like kind of calling them scrubs. I really don't like it. I think I will say it. It's past 8 o'clock. All the kids are in bed. It's bitch mentality. Is how I'll describe it. I'm not
behind the watershed.
Yeah, I don't enjoy the nonsense. To me, it's like, no. Well, playing a cards game. What the heck are you talking about? It's like
100%.
Yeah, so it's I don't like the mentality of like, oh, just because he hasn't got tops, it means that you can now disrespect him in the avenues of Yu-Gi-Oh. So what the heck are you talking about?
I think the toxicity discussion is something that's really important. I don't know how much time you want to allocate more on the cast, but I think it's something I'd definitely like to get into, because I know me and Nate have talked about this quite a lot in terms of the Yu-Gi-Oh can be a very, very toxic place, and so can everything competitive. Like, let's not lie to ourselves. But I don't know. There's some things that I've seen that just make me think. I don't know, man. Like, Nate, do you want to take the floor?
Okay. So when it comes to toxicity, I'm a big advocate for this because, oh God. So I'll just give a basic example, and this is something that I've had to basically go through recently, and that's being made fun of for an unpopular deck choice, and this deck choice led to basically years of taunting. By years, I meant like the last year and a half, I guess, of taunting because of this deck choice. And it's not even been like it just hangs over your head and stuff like that. It makes your opinions seem less valid just because you made one mistake in a tournament that probably didn't even matter. And then there's also things when new players come into the format against like reoccurring older players who have a lot more experience, and then this older player may show some discomfort towards the newer player because they're taking it a little bit slower, they're not learning the game mechanics, and it's literally just their first locals. And even then, I feel like in terms of competitive play, you need that gateway in order to mix from going from like, I guess...
We all started from the same point.
Exactly. But when you cross over that gap, people might be a bit hesitant and still see you as a bit of a hindrance or someone to take fun of just because you haven't got a top or because of the fact that you've made a misplay in a game or such. And I think that definitely there's room to improve because everybody makes mistakes. No one's perfect. It's the reason we all go to locals. It's the reason we all grind this game. But I think that being in the competitive scene, there is definitely something that needs to be sorted out when it comes to toxicity, and something along those lines. Anyway,
no, I agree. I think a big part of it as well is people just need to stand up for themselves more. I think that's a big part of it. Like in when you're in secondary school, in primary school, whatever, you learn at a very early age there's certain people you can't say things to because you'll get banged in the mouth. Like you can't. And it's like, I'm not saying go around and start boxing people at Yu-Gi-Oh events. No, that's not the instruction. But
that
it's
definitely
like,
isn't the way to handle.
Yeah, but it's like, just sometimes you need to call someone out. Like, as someone says a certain thing to you, I remember, I will never forget the day that someone tried to call me a certain word that rhymes with runt and refers to a woman's private area. And it's like, they called me that after the game, and I straight up told them, I was like, who are you talking to? I was like, I'll actually slap you. Because it's like, you can't have this. Yeah, you just need to make it clear. And it's like, he said it, and the way he said it, I'm sure he was used to he had just lost the game. I was playing Pen Best deck, I'd wrecked him. And it's like, I'm sure it's like he was used to just kind of being toxic after the game. But it's like, you just need to make it clear to people that, no, that's not okay. You can't, I don't like that. Don't talk to me like that. And
no,
so I think that's a big part of it as well. Yeah, like you need to stand up for yourself. I think is a big thing.
Yeah, and that's where I think like a lot of the things. Once you learn that you have like that voice that you can literally tell people no, that's where the confidence comes in. Yeah. And it takes a while for that to settle in, but once you get there, it's
and I think it's important as well to set an example. Like if you see someone in that scenario and they may not be able to stand up for themselves, stand up for them. Do what you can.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know that Nate. We all know that we've been in a position where we've had to kind of I don't think step in is the right word, but say like, look, what are you doing?
Yeah, I've had to have those a few times.
You do need to like verbally check people sometimes and be like, look, you're not any better than me. Like you're not any better than anyone else here in this room. Like I'm very much of the opinion that what you own doesn't determine who you are. I don't care if you got a deck full of Starlights. I don't care if you got a deck full of commons. If you're safe, then you're safe.
And I think a lot of people, not the materials. But at the end of the day, and carry on.
No, sorry. So I was going to say, I'm going to go into something that it is a little bit deeper here. I do expect people to, maybe wane off and not listen to this, but I don't care because this is my experience with toxicity and it's my life in it, and it's something that's very dear to my heart. So I don't know if any of you have been on the dumpster fire that's Yu-Gi-Oh Twitter recently, but there is a creator that Stevie Blunder has been kind of documenting all of the drama on,
Yeah.
and it was a creator who was a trans person, and for those people who may not be listening to the channel, I am a trans person, so this is something that I'm going to be looking into and holding, keeping my eye on, because it's someone who's essentially representing a member of my community, and this person's called out a load of people saying, the Yu-Gi-Oh sphere is really toxic, X, Y, and Z, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it seems like they may have had a bad experience. Week later, turns out this person's completely full of rubbish, has been doing horrible things, and has been sounding off on their Twitch saying, Kazuki Takahashi can go and die again. I hope that Farfa's whole family dies, whatever, like just some really heinous stuff. And because this person is of a certain community, it breeds a certain type of people to respond and think it's okay to say X, Y, Z. And for people who don't know this, a lot of Sanctum Squad videos that I am in, I will have to go through the comments and I'll have to delete them because people will be saying, like, calling me slurs, like just people over the internet, and I'm like, who are you? Like, what is what makes you any better? Like, why are you breeding this toxic mentality? Like, I get that you should never read the comments and you have to have a thick skin to put yourself on the internet in any way, and it's naive to think that you don't. But there are literally people in these communities, not even just like the trans community, you have people who just maybe a part of any minority group, to be honest, like who aren't essentially straight white males. Like, one of my friends is a girl and she just got into Yu-Gi-Oh and she's already told me weird stories she'd had about trying to buy things on the trade group and people, just completely overstepping the mark when it comes to, instead of just saying, oh, you can buy this for a tenner, they're like, oh, but that, you know how it goes. Like, and I'm just like, fuck me, man. Like, this is meant to be a game where people are supposed to be safe, and it's meant to be a game where people are meant to, not promote fucking weirdo mentality or hate speech or, put your fellow human down. Like, fuck that, man. Sorry for the language.
I understand, and I think as well, like, again, it's. I feel like people just need to be really mature. Like, just because,
100%.
like, so I remember when I saw that video, and when I saw that video, genuinely, I can't lie, it didn't even trigger in my head that this person was trans or whatever. I was just like, oh, why is he saying that? And then I clicked off. Yeah, it's like, I feel like you don't, just because someone's doing something, you don't need to attach the things that, you don't need to attach their race or their gender or whatever to what they're doing. It's completely
Completely
separate.
agree.
The fact that the fact that the person to me is trans to me is absolutely irrelevant. They're a prick.
It's minor, innit?
Well, yeah, to me, they're just a prick. That's really the only definition that's needed for them.
No, you're right, though.
Sorry.
Yeah.
God, Nathan, sorry, you were going to jump in.
Sorry, I was basically saying it. I think I phrased it wrong. At the end of the day, the person is the person based on their personality.
Yeah.
The gender is something that they, in turn, identify as. But it doesn't mean that you should judge the whole community on this one person's actions. And I feel like it's the case with that Stevie Blunder incident. This person was setting a really bad example for their community, but was also leading other people to think that this is like the norm, which is completely, I think,
completely untrue.
Yeah, exactly. And
I've spoken to fellow trans people in this game, and they're lovely humans. They're great. Like, not even in this game, in real life. Like, not everyone is like this. That's like saying that. Well, I don't even know what a good metaphor would be. But you can't tie humans with the same brush.
Being a girl in this game is so horrible that it basically means that it's so weird. Like, as you were saying before, they can come into the community and then everyone's just starting to be weird only because it's the fact it's a girl trying to show her love for her hobby, and everyone takes that the wrong way. And
yeah,
it's
they think they're entitled to
disgusting.
shit. They think they're entitled to shit because, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, not even just in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh, just in terms of, like, life. I got a newsflash for you in it. Women aren't just walking holes; they're people with dreams and opinions. Like a woman don't owe you anything just because you beat them at a card game.
Literally.
Again, it's like stuff like this as well. It's like, to be honest, if a lot of this to me is even like, it's obvious. Like, do people need to be told? Like, so it's always shocking. Yeah, like it's shocking to me. Like,
it's so bad.
So it's like, I think my just general advice would be to most guys, and like that's one of the reasons why I'm hesitant sometimes to. I don't like talking on the behalf of people. So I personally wouldn't talk on behalf of women because I'm not a woman. But
That's
my
fair.
advice to any guy would just be that if you are against a woman, or if you're against a trans person, or if you're against someone of a different race or different something, and you're playing a Yu-Gi-Oh match against them, my advice to you is just to ignore them and then focus on the cards in their hand, because that's why you're there. Everything else is irrelevant. It's like, it just doesn't make sense to focus on all of that extra stuff in the first place.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real, and I think I've played against both of you in a tournament setting, so. Like, I think you'll both know what I mean. You'll sit down for the match, we'll have our conversation, our banner or whatever. Game turns on, game mode in it.
Bro, literally, you're getting this work. You're getting it, bro.
Of course.
In the game, I don't know you, bro.
It's like we can have a laugh and a chat no matter what, but I'm still gonna try and beat your ass.
I'm still signing in free Mystic Minds. You'll be shocked.
The game ends, the match ends, and it's back to regular human interaction.
Yeah.
But while you're in that game, the only thing you should be focused on is the game.
Yeah.
Me and Dan can attest, like, whenever we play each other, we'll just have our friendly conversation no matter what, and then all of a sudden, as the game starts, we get so heated. And then it's
You
finished,
get
I was
so
like,
heated because
yeah, you activate Mystic Mind and flip 5 first dates and then someone will leave it.
No, I can't lie.
I do deserve all this hate.
One thing that I have a lot of trouble with, and I have to stop myself, is whenever I'm against a Flunder player, after the game, when they start being friendly to me, it's always hard. Because I have to remind myself that it's just a game. But I'm like, why are you talking to me? Go away. You just flipped... It wasn't a good game. You just flipped Featherstorm on me. Go away. I don't like you.
You summoned a penguin. Leave me alone.
Yeah, it's like, I don't like you right now. Stop talking to me. But then I have to like smile and be like, yeah, good game. Yeah, close.
It took a very lot amount of skill. No, it didn't. You just summoned Barrier Statue. Go away.
Yeah, But anyway, yeah, let's close up. I think this has been a really good show. We've actually hit 50 minutes, so we're doing a really, really good job, I think. But
sorry,
yeah.
I did want to just ask very quickly before I go, did you have anything extra that you wanted to add into the discussion we were talking about in toxicity? Like, were there any experiences that like you'd seen or like wanted to share or anything like that?
I've had experiences, but in general, nothing that I want to add, because again, it's like my opinion on all of this is, again, it's just I genuinely feel like, it's like I said, all I have to say is just focus on the game when you're playing the game, and then also as a person, if people are being pricks to you, it's like, just don't be an asshole, and then just stand up for yourself as well, because chances are that person, when they do that thing to you, it's because they think they won't get a response. But if you tell them straight up that it's not cool, they'll probably stop. And if they don't stop, then that's just someone that you don't need to play with against in the future.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
But yeah, guys, so that was another awesome episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show. We had our awesome guests. Well, I say guests, but I feel like these guys, they're part of the show now, part of the family, man. So yeah, definitely thank you everyone for watching.
Big up.
Any closing thoughts, Nate and Dan?
Subscribe to Sanctum Squad, subscribe to Fabs, don't play Flunder unless you want Fabs to get angry at you.
Thank you for supporting the channel and everything we do.
Also, we're really trying to get over. We're really trying to hit 2K subs because we've been stuck in a certain figure for a while, and it's annoying. So if you're listening to this and you're not subscribed to Sanctum Squad, go subscribe to Sanctum Squad, and then if you're local to our locals, come to me and I'll buy you nothing.
Alright, perfect. Alright, thanks guys. We'll talk to you all soon. Peace.